Trojans.
John Sumrall joins us here, and Coach brings two sixth-year seniors with him, Coach. Carlton Marshall, the pride of Mobile, Alabama, and Russellville, Alabama's Austin Stidham. Coach, appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate you having us, and, yeah, we brought our two AARP card-carrying members to the tour today, so these guys are already collecting Social Security over here.
Spend a moment introducing these guys, what Carlton and Austin have meant to this program.
Yeah, well, you talk about, you already hit on being two 6-year guys, being committed to the program for the long haul. In the age of transfer portal and guys, things not going their way and them just leaving or whatever, you've got two guys that are very committed to Troy. They're passionate about Troy. They love Troy and care about their teammates deeply. Carlton came to Troy as a walk-on from Mobile, went to McGill-Toolen High School, and he's had a pretty good run. All he's done is gotten 104 tackles away from being the career leader for FBS tackles. And so had a very successful run at Troy on the field. Been all-conference, all-American, all these awards. I can't keep up with all of them. There's
Neither
so many.
can I, yeah.
But even a better person off the field. You know, in Troy, Alabama, you go to the rec center and my son will be playing a basketball game, or Brent Jones' son will be playing a sport, and you'll look up and there's Carlton Marshall walking out to go watch them play and encourage them. And so not only a fine player, but a fine young man. And then Austin Stidham from Russellville, Alabama, another in-state product. So two opposite ends of the state. You got Northwest Alabama and South Alabama represented. Austin came to Troy. Both these young men came to Troy my last year there as an assistant in 2017 or 2018 is when they were really became players and starters. But they got there in 2017. And Austin came in, a young, talented offensive lineman who had great athletic ability, got stronger, got bigger, got more savvy in how he was playing the game, and then it's been basically a 4-year starter the last 4 years. And so another thing I'll tell you before you go in Austin, 2-time COSIDA academic All-American.
I've never heard of anybody else doing that.
Well, I've never really met a 1-time academic All-American, and then I got a 2-timer right here in front of me. So both guys that off the charts football players, off the charts people too.
Let's start with Carlton, and let's just talk about that in context. In this, your final year, what factored into your decisions to come back and play one more year of college football at Troy, Carlton?
A lot of the guys ask me that question, almost every day. But I tell them, they say, "Oh, it's Carlton. Is it for the record? Is it for da-da-da-da-da-da-da?" But I say, no, it's I felt like these past few years we really didn't have a culture that we could stand on and have it build off of that. And I feel like Coach Sumrall, I wanted to be a part of what he brought and what I see this team doing.
I got to ask Austin this because, you've been a starter. You've accomplished so much. You graduated as Carlton. You married, you've had, I guess, every reason if you had chosen to move on.
All right.
And you came back.
Yes, sir. Just to build off of what Carlton said, it's a lot about the culture that we leave behind. What we instill in this program is what is going to build upon in the future. And these past couple of years is not something that we feel confident about leaving behind as our legacy. So we've been blessed with an opportunity to come back again and rewrite our legacy and leave behind something that we can be proud of at Troy University. So that's a big factor for us. We want to get this program back to where it needs to be and where it's supposed to be.
Off-season workouts are going on right now, Coach, getting ready. These are the ones that fans don't see at the Vet this fall, starting September the 10th. There's a lot of work going on right now. How's all that going?
Yeah, the workouts have been great. Today's actually the last day of our player-led OTA-driven practices, and so they'll do an OTA this morning. They're actually done here right now, roughly. And then you guys don't know this, but they won't lift today. They would have lifted, and Rusty they hadn't every Wednesday, but this schedule is going to be a lift day, and Rusty's cutting them loose after the OTA. And they'll have about 4 or 5 days off here until we report Tuesday, August the 2nd. But all summer they've been in the weight room, they've been running, they've been doing player-led practices and OTAs when the coaches were around. And so they're pouring a lot of time and investment into their craft so that we can have the opportunity to be successful this season. I tell them a lot, hard work doesn't mean you're going to be successful. It gives you the opportunity to be successful. And if you don't work hard, then you don't have any chance at it. And so they've put the work in. They've been busting their tail all summer. I think we've got a very committed team that cares deeply about being the best we can be. We just have to make sure we harness it and get it directed towards how do you play the game the right way to have success.
Carlton Marshall, you've had so many accolades, so many things, so many accomplishments. I mean, they've all been deserved. What personally? I mean, you mentioned the team. You mentioned what leaving your legacy would mean for this team. What drives you personally this year?
Well, this year personally, I would always like to compare myself to my brother. Actually, my older brother. I want to be better than he was, but I still haven't reached that yet. So, that's like my motivation going into the game. Playing for that name on the front of my jersey and the name on the back of my jersey, and playing for those guys. That's all it's about.
We've heard. I've talked with Coach yesterday, driving down here, about the team and his expectations for the team. Talk about the defensive personnel. How good can Troy be defensively? Because they got some dudes there, Carlton.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I can say we can be top 5 in the nation, honestly, with the level of talent. But if we can get everybody locked in on that same point, and the sky's the limit for us.
Name some names. Who impresses you?
Reddy Stewart, Will Cholo, Richard Jubinar, Javon Solomon, Craig Slocum, Dale Pettis. Those I can go down the list all day.
That's a dangerous question because there's so many good players on our defense that you're afraid to leave somebody out.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys, and then too, there's some guys that aren't household names. Carlton named a lot of the guys everybody knows. We've got some young men that I think are ready to take big steps up in regards to their development that people may not really know yet. Caleb Ransaw at corner had a spring that I'm like, this guy is as good of a corner as I've been around in a while, and really has not quite made his mark yet. But there's a lot of guys ready to step up. So it's going to be an exciting year on defense to watch these guys cut it loose.
Barry, I'd be interested to know what Carlton and Austin think is the biggest difference between this coaching staff and last year's coaching staff.
Let's start with Austin. I know it's difficult.
Yeah, that's a tough question, and it's one that we expected to get asked. But the big thing that is different, not just from the coaching staff, but from our culture, and that's really what we've been hyping on, is our culture. And this team is setting its own culture. We have the internal leadership and the internal responsibility and accountability now that I think that's what sets this team apart from years in these recent years, the teams in these recent years, is our internal accountability and our internal culture. The players are pushing. It's not really a coaching thing, and I'm not trying to dodge your question by any means, but I really do think that's what's going to be the difference between this year's team and the team that we had over recent years.
Carlton?
Kind of to build off what Austin said, you can't really say the coaching staff as much just because, you have to be a player-led organization. When you're a player-led organization, you can't lose.
Coach, you and I were talking before about how purposeful you were in hiring your staff. And you were talking yesterday at a speaking event about how you were looking for coaches who valued relationships. Speak about that and how it has gone to this point.
Yeah, when you're hiring a staff, there is a requisite level of football knowledge and football IQ that you must have. And so we were going to make sure that we hired really good, detailed football coaches that were knowledgeable. And we did that. But I wasn't going to be okay with them just checking one box to join our staff. I wanted to make sure that we had guys that deeply cared about developing young men to be the best they could be as people and players. And our motto is better people make better players. And so for us, we're relationship driven. And some people, they may say, well, you're a player's first coach. Well, you know what I am. Or you're a player's coach. You know what I am, because every decision we make is about the players. Last time I checked, if there weren't any players, there wouldn't be any coaches. And so nobody comes to watch me play on Saturdays. They come to watch these guys play. And so for us, as we put the staff together, I wanted to make sure that we put a group of men together that were passionate about investing in the lives of the young men that we had the opportunity to coach. And I want every guy in our program to leave better than we found them. And so if a coach doesn't know what's going on in a player's life in his room, then I'm on them because I want them to be dialed into the whole person model of what we're trying to do with our team and our players. And I think our staff, I think the players will tell you they feel that the staff, we coach them hard, but we love them hard too. And guys know we're going to be there for them through the good and the bad.
One of the things that Brent Jones mentioned yesterday at the speaking event down in Troy was the approach the athletics department has in empowering student athletes through NIL. It's become a huge talking point on our radio program, gentlemen, and Troy has done a good job, I think, of integrating a lot of different facets of NIL to make it make sense for the players, to make it easier for the scholar athletes to take advantage of that. Carlton, you've been so visible in the community now for 5 or 6 years. We knew you would have NIL opportunities. I also suspect it's not really what drives you. For our listeners out there who want a true scholar athlete, student athlete perspective on NIL, what has it been like for you to negotiate through all of those issues and take advantage of that?
Of course it's been different, with the rule just now being passed. But, I want, like you said, that's not what it's about. I want the guys behind me and even the guys before me to understand the true meaning. Like, why are you playing this game? It's not for the NIL deals. It's not for the money. Honestly, you're doing it just for the love of the game. Of course, that's just icing on the cake, the NIL deals.
Right. Do you see Troy's approach in affording those opportunities for NIL, Austin? Do you value that? Do you realize what that's, the value of that for you, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. And, I'll tell you this, Troy University, we were talking about this at dinner last night, just the tight-knit opportunity that the university provides at every aspect, whether you're talking about academics, athletics, compliance, the way that everything is outlined and works together, it really makes everything seamless for us. So it's not something that we as much have to worry about. We have those facets and those resources to go to in case that we need more information on an NIL deal or if we need help navigating the waters. I think Troy provides us an excellent opportunity with the resources we need to be successful in that avenue.
Coach John Sumrall, Carlton Marshall, Austin Stidham, Troy University. I'm getting texts now, Coach, and I've already resolved to go through this entire segment without asking you what people are wanting me to ask you about. So I'm not going to ask you about who the quarterback's going to be or anything like that.
Yeah, there's certain questions that are off limits, or you can ask, but they're not going to get an answer. So.
I'll ask you this then. You mentioned everybody officially, and I'm using air quotes, reports next week. What are some of the most important early things that need to get established and answered in fall camp?
Yeah, obviously, who's gonna run out with the first team we play game one at quarterback is a big deal, and we've got a great incumbent and someone who's played a lot of games in Gunnar Watson, and very confident in Gunnar. His work ethic has really, I think, developed and grown since January. When I got there, I had some concerns about his real commitment to pushing himself every day, and he has followed through with working extremely hard the last 5 or 6 months, and I've been very impressed with how he has worked. And the other young quarterbacks in the room, just how are they going to develop? Who's going to step up? And then amongst the team, depth on the offensive line. We lost only one starter last year, Dylan Bradshaw at center. We're shuffling guys around and having certain guys play multiple positions. Now Austin's lucky he's just playing left tackle, but certain guys are having to play some center and some guard in different spots. So the O-line depth is a critical question for me. Who's going to step up? Tez has made big plays at receiver. Deshaun Stoudemire has done some really good things at times last season. Deshaun's had a great offseason, but who else at receiver is going to step up and make critical third down catches or big plays when we need a big play? At running back, I think we've got a stable of guys that can play at a high level. Tight end, I think our room is getting improved constantly. I think those guys are pushing hard. The depth pieces on the D-line. We've got some D-line guys that are not maybe frontline starters. Like everybody knows Will Cholo. But Shaquel Brown has had a great offseason. If Shaquel will commit himself every day to pushing himself to be his best and stay focused, Shaquel could be as good as anybody on our team. And there's a lot of guys like Shaquel that have great potential and ability. They just have to every day tap into the process of being their best. At linebacker, excited to watch all those guys inside play. Edge rushers, I think, everybody knows Richard Jubenor and Javon Solomon. Phillip Lee is a young player who could be really, really good. He's just got to keep committing to the process of his growth and development. So there's so many intricate battles and just development pieces on our roster that I'm excited to watch everybody grow, each guy take a step forward, and the team's going to be as strong as its weakest link. And so all our guys that are in backup roles have to push themselves to be their best every day.
I've got a question somebody asked me, wanted to ask Austin Stidham about this. Not many people get this opportunity. Somebody wanted me to ask you about this. Your position coach has been a coach of the New England Patriots, for goodness sakes.
Yes,
talk a little bit about the experience early on with Coach Cole Popovich.
Yeah, I got asked this question a little while back because this will be my fourth offensive line coach since I've been in college. And a lot of people think, maybe that brings struggles, maybe that creates like a misconnection. But to me, and at a position like offensive line where it's so, mentally focused, having those different aspects and different ideas to draw off of, and especially a guy that is so intelligent, just game smart like Coach Popovich, it's amazing. It's amazing to have that resource, and it's been, for me, a guy that has aspirations to carry on to the next level. It has been such a blessing that he has came into our program, and he's gotten me better, and I'm only going to continue to grow.
Coach, Barry, I know we've asked the coach his thoughts about opening up his coaching career at Troy on the road in the SEC against Ole Miss and Oxford. I'd be interested what the two players think about taking on Lane Kiffin's bunch in Game 1 this year.
We're looking we're looking forward to that. I know the guys are hyped about it, and I'm pretty sure, we can play with anybody in the nation, and I'm really confident on that.
Austin?
Yeah, there's one thing about Troy, and that's, we're going to put up a fight wherever we go, anytime that we show up. So I think we've set that representation for ourselves. We've set that precedent. So it's going to be exciting. We're ready for it. I know they're going to be ready, and I think it's going to be a great game.
Week 2 is the opener at home at the Vet against Alabama A&M. Final question for Carlton Marshall. How much really does it mean, does it fuel, does it motivate the players to have the prospect of running out onto the Vet for the first time this year and having a full house?
Having a full house, we're really excited. It's kind of get a little antsy and a little anxious, But we're looking forward to seeing our fans out there, the best in the nation, honestly.
Coach, that's a big deal, man. I know there's been a big push for season tickets, to pack the Vet, things like that. That first home game, September the 10th, doesn't need to be an empty seat.
Yeah, a part of our vision with Troy football is we want to sell out every home game, and it starts with Game 1. And I don't want it sold out for me. I want it sold out for the young men on our team.
Sure.
Because I can tell you this, we talked about this yesterday on the drive down. In 2016, when I was at Troy and we beat App State at home in a game that was a really pivotal game in our development as a program when I was here last, the fans made a difference in that game. The stadium was rocking, the crowd was loud, and that was a big win. The fans have the ability to carry our players over the edge. A big third down, we're on defense by creating crowd noise, and that helps our defense. And so we've got a passionate fan base. One of the things I love about Troy is we're in one of the smallest FBS towns in America, but yeah, we've got a stadium that seats 30,000 people, and that lets you know football matters. But we need everybody that can and is able to come show up at the Vet and support our guys because of all the hard work they put in. I want them to have a great experience and all the support we can get them.
They certainly deserve it. Left tackle Austin Stidham, middle linebacker Carlton Marshall, head coach John Sumrall at Troy. Gentlemen, have a great year. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.